Hey guys, so I promised you guys that I would do a homeschooling video. As you know, a lot of my channel actually used to be primarily about homeschooling and like meal planning and stuff like that. So I've been getting a lot of questions about homeschooling because a lot of you guys are forced to, or you have decided to because of what your school district is doing this year, or you were just already thinking about it and you want to get started. So I'm going to answer some questions that I have got. I did an Instagram poll, and these are some of the questions I got, so I'm going to answer those, and then in the coming weeks I'm going to go into detail more about the things that we're doing and that we use in our homeschool. So let's get started. Now we are in North Carolina, which I consider a very easy state to homeschool in. My husband was, a little bit of history here, my husband was homeschooled from middle school up to he graduated homeschool, so we have some experience there. And then we pulled out my 13-year-old when he was 6. So 7-8 years, somewhere in there, we've been homeschooling him. I actually started, it's probably closer to like 8 years, because I started homeschooling my daughter in for preschool before I took him out of public school. I was very against homeschooling, and I did not want to homeschool my children. And then one day we were actually working on a goat fence, and we were listening to this preacher on my phone, and we just had it, carrying it around while he was working on the fence, and he was talking about homeschooling and raising your kids at home, and that this is the job that God's given you. And I really felt convicted, so much so that I wanted to pull my son out immediately, but we did wait till the end of the year to pull him out, and he was in 1st grade. So that's a little bit of our history. I have been a homeschool blogger and vlogger for since we started. I started doing it very early when we started homeschooling. I've worked with several companies, the schoolhouse review crew, and some stuff like that. But right now I'm going to talk to you about what you need to get started. Okay. So here's what you're going to need to do if you want to homeschool, and this is in North Carolina, but this is the same case in a lot of other states. So if your child is in public school, you are going to need to file what's called a notice of intent, and you can go online to the website, state's website. I will leave that link below. It is just a paper stating that you are homeschooling your child or children, and the public school is no longer responsible for their education. And that's just basically to cover the school in case something does happen with your child's education, or something in your household, and they are not responsible for your child's education anymore. And then that is basically letting the state know that's what you're doing. And the only really hardcore laws in our state are that you have to do 180 days of attendance. You are not required to turn that in. Sometimes they can ask you, or they may be in your area and want to do an interview, but it is not mandatory that you turn that in every year. But you do, they have some free attendance sheets you can print off online, and then there's others on Pinterest. They really don't care. Just keep track of it. We just check off each day. And then testing. So you're required to test your students. You don't have to have you don't have to hire someone to test your children. If you don't want to, you can just do it yourself. Different tests do require different things. So we do the CAP test from Academic Excellence every year. I give it to my children. We spread it out over about a 2-week period. Sometimes we can get it done in a couple days. It just depends on what we have going on. So we try to work in it in little bitty chunks of time. And then we've also done testing called the Woodcock-Johnson test, where I've actually taken my kids to the public library, where it's a testing, what are they called? There's a name for them. But the lady comes there and she tests the kids, and that's another just different test. All this information of what tests are allowed and not allowed is on the North Carolina for Public Education website, and that's the website I'm going to link below. They've also started a YouTube series just in the coming past weeks that has a lot of this information as well. So this is more of a crash course, but if you really want to dive in and deep and learn, and you have maybe high school or something, that's a good resource to have. And then of course one parent at least has to have a high school diploma or GED, and you just turn that in along with like your address and the name of your homeschool. We have to name our homeschools in North Carolina, and that name will be your name for the duration that your school is open. So think of a good name. We thought ours is Linville Christian Academy, and you know, you can just pick whatever you want, whatever sounds good and you think you want on your child's diploma when they graduate. So because if you plan on graduating your kids yourself, that's going to be on their diploma, that's going to be on their college applications, job interviews. So don't pick some weird funky name just because nobody's going to know it, because eventually if you plan on graduating your kids, they will know it. So that's basically it. You're ready to homeschool now. Now is the part that people really freak out about, because they're like, I don't know how to do this, and I can't teach this, and I wasn't good at this in school, so how am I going to teach my kid? What does your schedule look like? So we homeschool year round. We like to take breaks during certain seasons. We take off a lot for Christmas and Thanksgiving, mainly Christmas. We take off to go camping. We take off for a hunting season, opening week, usually in the fall we bear hunt, and we take off like that week so that we can all go as a family. And usually we have people in town those weeks too. So we just like it that way, where if we need to take off a day to go to the doctor or run errands or go to the pool or just hang out and play outside or whatever we want to do, we can take off anytime that we want it and we need a break. We don't find that we need big chunks, even like 2 or 3 week chunks of breaks when we do it that way. We have done it that way. I went to a year-round public school when I was little, and we did like 6 weeks on, 3 weeks off, or something like that. So you get to choose that. You get to choose completely what your schedule is going to be like. So we don't. That being said, I'm going to show you my planner. I have this I wrote coconut on that one. Here's a little brief like look of this was last year's. So I just have like a monthly calendar, and the weeks that I knew we were going to be off. So we had like opening week of bear hunting, we had Thanksgiving, and then I kind of left December, but we ended up taking a lot of December off, which is busy for us. Our anniversary, we have 2 birthdays and our star 6 people, and we like to do a lot of holiday stuff and a lot of traveling and go and look at Christmas lights and stuff. So we do take a lot of December off, but I will, if I know I'm going to be off a date or somebody's birthday, I'll come and I'll just check that off of my planner. This year I actually haven't. Usually I write when I would like to test. I don't, but if we don't stick to it, it's fine. And then I just kind of know, hey, I know we're going to be off this week, or we're going to be gone this weekend, and we're going to be needing to pack for that weekend or whatever. So I can take off those days, or I don't plan any big trips or field trips or anything like that. Now, that's our schedule day to day is, we are very relaxed homeschoolers in some sense. We are structured in some ways, but we are relaxed in other ways. Over the years, when I first started, I had to have a desk in my house. I wanted it to look like a schoolroom. We went to the library several times a week. We done all these things. We were in homeschool co-op, which we still are, but it was I was very focused on having a classroom school setting. I wanted to be a teacher when I was little, and that was like my dream come true, to have this like classroom and the kids come in and say the pledge, and we did all these things, and we sat at our desk until we were basically done. We had breaks for lunch and stuff. But over the years, and through the encouragement of other moms, I have really come to treasure the time that I have with my kids and nurture my relationships with my kids, because when they graduate, the academics might be there. They might be super smart, but you're not going to have that relationship, that strong relationship. And our homeschool leader in our co-op spoke about this last Christmas at our mom's night, or maybe it was the Christmas before last. Yeah. And it really hit home, because homeschooling is hard sometimes. I'm going to be very frank with you. It's really hard, but it's also extremely rewarding. And I learned the past 2 years to really scale back on, and less pressure on my kids and myself to do this public school at home sort of thing that we were doing, and took it down to where I could really hone in on what they needed to learn and how we could incorporate life into our homeschool. So for math one day, my second, third grader, she may have done like a little worksheet in her book, but we didn't do a formal lesson because we were just building on review. So I might take her into the kitchen, and actually I do this frequently. I take all my kids into the kitchen, all the 13 down to 2, and we bake, and I have them measure things. They know what half a cup is. They know how to divide that and make it a quarter cup. And when we're farming out on the farm, we talk about things. We know our numbers and our letters, and we teach them a lot through life. And people will tell you, my kids have a lot of common sense, and they are very smart and knowledgeable when things that most kids don't really know because they're not exposed to it. They're really just taught, okay, you're going to read, and you're going to read these words by sight, and you're going to do this math, and then we're never going to go back to it, or you're going to be tested on it. And we would like to teach our kids in a way that it sticks, and they're going to use it in their life. And I will tell you some of our curriculum choices here in a minute, but we are just very relaxed. And so what we do for our schedule is, now I'm sitting in the farmhouse. If you don't know, we've been fixing it up. This is part of the kitchen. Like, I'm looking at the kitchen that way, and then this is our chalkboard and our big table where we're going to do school. What we were doing at our previous house and up at the mobile home is we would just kind of get up in the morning, eat breakfast. We had a little baby the past few years, so I would usually have to get her down for her nap which is usually after lunch before we did school. That's just the season of life we were in. Now, our plan and how we've been doing it at the mobile home, I don't know why I keep saying double wide. At the mobile home is, we get up in the morning, we eat breakfast, everybody eats breakfast, and then we come down here. And we have a playroom for the little ones. They can play. And then the 2 older ones that have a lot more school than others. So my son is 13 and my daughter is 9. We don't really do grades because they're both at different levels with math and reading or language arts. So they have different grade levels that they're working on. But we come down here, I do a subject with them, either math or language arts. Sometimes they do it both together. Sometimes they don't need my help. Sometimes they need me right there with them the entire time. So I have to give them something to work on the other one or something like that. But then we'll go, if we didn't bring lunch down here, we will go up and eat lunch and then come back down here. Usually my daughter is ready for a nap then. So I'll have her napping up there. We may just end up getting her a little like toddler bed or something where she can nap down here. But one of the older kids will stay up there, and then one of them coming down here. We'll finish that person's lessons. They'll switch, and then the other one will come down here. And then I also will use that time to teach my preschooler, which he really doesn't do a whole lot right now, but I do take time with him to work on his handwriting, and he's like very smart with numbers and letters, but he's not quite at the age where he can sit down and do anything in a workbook. So I've been working with him with like letters and stuff, or handwriting. And then she'll get up, we'll have like an afternoon snack, and then we sit together and we do we call it a loop schedule. So I've done a video a while back about a loop schedule, so I will link that below. But we do, on our loop, we do history and science mainly. We do nature studies and geography. So that is our first loop. So what I do is one day we will have history, and then the next day we'll have science, the next day nature study, the next day history, the next day science, the next day geography. So we do science and history twice as much as we do nature study and geography. And so how that works is whatever day, so if we did history, I know that we did history last. Say we don't do school for 3 days. The next time we do school, we're still going to we're going to go back to the next thing. We're going to do science. So that keeps that in check. I used to do it where we would do like on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays we did history, and then on Tuesdays and Thursdays we did science, and that never worked because if we missed a day, we got really behind in a subject. So that way it keeps us moving through the curriculum pretty regularly. And then what else is there to talk about? I've got some questions that I'm going to answer that I got. I don't plan a lot anymore. I do have a planner, and I printed off, I designed these printables for this planner. I loved this planner, and then I didn't use it as much. But I made a printable, and I just put my kids' names up there, and it's undated, and then I have like my tabs. What is this, a happy planner? And some of it has dates in it, but I have the punch for this because these pages come out really easy and they go back in easy. So that's what I use when I need to write something down, but I really don't stress myself out to plan anymore because most of our stuff is just moving on to the next lesson. Sometimes if I know that they really need to focus on something, like my 13-year-old, he needs to really work on these certain spelling words, I'll put that in there. But I always plan the week before, like on the weekend, on Sunday. I plan that day for the coming week. So I don't mess up my planner getting weeks ahead and getting thrown off schedule, because that stresses me out. I don't mind planning and having a plan, but I don't want to plan too far ahead. And I used to plan monthly meal plan too, and I stopped doing that, and I do a week at a time now as well, because it's got overwhelming for me with everything that we have going on, and stuff changes so frequently. So that is pretty much scheduling and planning. I'm gonna go ahead and answer some of you guys' questions. So somebody wanted to know if there were curriculum requirements for North Carolina, and there is not. You can teach them by something you've made up. You can teach them completely online. You can teach them completely from 12 different kinds of books and curriculums, or you can buy a full set from like a Becca for that grade and teach that. For pretty much for elementary, even middle school, there's not a set subject that you really, there's not a set, not subject, but a set of check boxes that you have to check off for each subject. You can look at those things. Some people's made really good ones online, like what my second grader needs to know, or you can get practice tests for the test you're going to do. But pretty much I go off of, I find the curriculum I want to use, and we use a very big mix, and we have used tons of curriculum over the years, and this is literally the past year. What we've been using and what we're going to use this year is the best curriculum that I have ever used, and the happiest we've been homeschooling. But curriculum choices, really, it comes down to your preference. What do you feel comfortable with? Is there something you like better? You can look into there's Montessori and Waldorf homeschooling, and then there's very Christian-based, faith-based curriculums. There's secular homeschool curriculums that are do not mention anything in the Bible. It's really your preference and your choice. Even in high school, you get points, or what they're called, something that I'm not thinking of right now. Credits. So like your student might have to have like a PE credit, or a math or algebra credit. He has to have 4 math credits to graduate, or something like that. Just like in public school, you still get to choose those 4 maths that your kid does. And that, when I was talking about my son to some moms in our group, I was really pleased to hear that it wasn't super strict. It was whatever maths you wanted to use, or whatever curriculums you wanted to use. You just had to have a credit. He had to have a class for that subject 4 times within those 4 years. Basically, with curriculum, you get to choose that. Next question was, are there any groups we can join? Look for co-ops in your area. We have about 600 homeschoolers currently in our county. We have 2 homeschool groups, and they're very different. We are a part of one of them, and our events were canceled so far for this year. Maybe we'll get together in the fall, but look for groups in your area. There's usually Facebook groups in your area you can look for, and join up there and have play dates or field trips or whatever you want to do. Now, I am horrible at math or whatever subject. How can I teach my kid if I can't do this? If I know nothing about math, I'm not good at it. Or language arts or English or whatever you're teaching. It doesn't really matter. A lot of times I find when I'm talking to other moms that they have to sometimes relearn what they're going to teach. So they may read the teacher's manual or the student book and try to do it themselves, and then if their child has a question, they are able to answer it. That's a lot of times what I do if I'm not sure, like I don't fully know this curriculum or whatever. I will read it, it takes like 5 minutes to kind of just kind of get it in your head again, or learn it if you don't know it, and then you can help your child that way. A lot of times though, I find my kids, the teacher's books do a really good job at explaining it to where I don't have to know it to teach it to them, because it is literally taught on them. There is a teacher on that paper or that DVD or that online class that is teaching them. You can also get tutors. Say you are not really good at math and you don't want nothing to do with it, you don't want to relearn anything, you don't have to, but your child is struggling with algebra and you don't want to relearn it, or calculus, or whatever they're going to do. And it's elementary math is easy. It's easy to relearn, but you can always hire a tutor or a friend or a person in your homeschool group and say, hey, I'm not doing good in this subject. Do you mind taking my kid one time a week or a couple times a week and just helping them, tutoring them? So you can do that. Don't worry about not knowing something. Teachers in public school, they don't know all the stuff they're teaching. They are following a lesson plan and curriculum just like homeschool parents are. And you don't have to worry so much about it. Okay. All right, so the next question was, how much does it cost? It can be completely free. There's no fee to start your homeschool. It can be completely free, as in if you have a computer and internet access, there is a online program website called Easy Peasy All-in-One Homeschool. This lady created this curriculum for her children and has added through the years and has put it online completely free. It's amazing. Days that we need to do science or something and I am just not able to be with the kids, or somebody else is watching them, I'll have them go to that website. They can each click on their grade level and go to a science thing. I'll let them watch YouTube for science, or just kind of go out and explore stuff. And I say, go learn something, and then come back and tell me about it at the end of the day. I want you to tell me about bees, grasshoppers. What have you learned today? And I'll let them do the exploring and let them be on their own. But homeschooling is pretty much free. You need some pencils and crayons, maybe some glue and some construction paper if you got little ones. You need their books, which you can buy used or new. You can buy the whole set, you can buy pieces, you can buy workbooks, as extravagant as you want to be. You can use the library to check out books, or you can purchase books that go with a particular curriculum. Like My Father's World is a really popular curriculum. I love it. They piece together a lot of the things that we do, and you get these beautiful books and stuff to go with. But when we do kind of a My Father's World idea of homeschooling, because we use a lot of the curriculum they use, but we would go and check out the books instead of purchasing the books, unless we knew we were going to need them for a long time. So it can be as expensive or as cheap as you want it to or need it to be. You can keep your curriculum that you're done with or manipulatives and take them to a homeschool store and usually consign them or sell them to friends or post them online. There's Facebook groups, buy sell trade groups you can buy used curriculum for. Very rarely do we buy something new unless it's like a student's workbook that they're writing in. I will say really quick, jump on my soapbox, don't unless I've been there. I've been in a really bad position where I needed to save money in homeschooling, and I thought I would be smart about it and take a student book and just copy it for the next one or to use or whatever. That costs me more money in the long run. It don't matter how cheap a printer is. It costs you time, stress, aggravation. These workbooks are typically pretty cheap, $20 to $30, sometimes way less than that. So I would recommend no one doing that unless it was absolutely necessary and you have the time, because it's really a pain in the behind to do that. Plus, when you support that curriculum company by buying that workbook or that additional workbook, you are keeping them in business. So keep that in mind. All right, next question someone asked me is, how do I know if my child has a learning disability or what type of learner they are? That is really going to take time. I knew when I pulled my oldest son out of public school, they were already testing him for dyslexia, and I already had the doctor send us to get tested. They just show him some cards and ask him some questions and determine that. There's no like blood test or anything like that. But you really just have to watch your child. And like my 4-year-old, I know that he is a very hands-on learner because he is very OCD in tendencies. He likes to color, but he doesn't love it. And he wants it to be perfect when he colors it in. And I would try to encourage him to, color outside the lines, and it's okay to not be perfect. But he does better with puzzles and building things and tactical items that he can touch and move and see and feel. And all of my kids are pretty much like that. Some kids do really good online. And so if you have a child that you just buy a curriculum and you see that they're just not liking it, switch it. Don't be afraid to switch it mid-year. If you need to go from online school or online curriculum, like teaching textbooks as a math curriculum that's kind of online or CD based or computer based, I should say, and then that's not working for them, don't be afraid to buy them a workbook and switch their curriculum. You will find it. Every curriculum is not going to be perfect, but you will find your child's learning style, what they prefer. Ask them, do you think you would work better on a computer or workbook? What do you want for your kids? Do you want them to be working on a computer, or do you want them to be, handling books? Do you want them to have no books and use only manipulatives to teach them? So, just whatever works for you, you can do it. And through homeschooling, you will learn about your child. That is one of the greatest things about it, is you truly learn what they need to work on, what they like, what sparks their creativity and sparks their interest in things around them, how they learn the best. It takes time. It's not something you're going to learn, maybe not even the first year. I did mention that we done, Woodcock-Johnson testing. We did that the first year, and what they do is they kind of really put them at a grade level, and they tell you what you need to work on. It was a very expensive test. When I had it done, I don't know how expensive it is now, but it really helped me know what I needed to work with him on coming out of public school. So that was a big change for him, and it was good for me to see exactly what I needed. Did I need to go to second grade, or did I need to go back to first grade? All these curriculums, every curriculum just about has a placement test, and that's what I use when I want to find something for my kids. I use go online, print the placement test, look at the one that I think they need, and then print it off and give it to them, and it tells me what level I need to buy of that curriculum. I don't go by grade level, so I just go by the placement test. And then another thing that I want to talk about is deschooling your kids. If you are pulling your child out of public school, no matter the age, when they come home, and I'm sure a lot of you experienced this back when the pandemic hit and schools were closed and you were trying to do school at home. Now, kids have been home for a while now, so this may not be exactly how it's going to happen, but I know with my son and people I've talked to that's pulled their child out of public school, you have to go through a period, it's almost a year, before they really let go of what they've learned in public school. But it took him a really long time to learn that he didn't have to be a robot. He did not have to ask me to go to the bathroom, or if he was hungry, he knew he could get up and get him a snack within reason. He didn't have to sit at his desk. I have pictures of him where when I had desks then, and he would like stand up and he would say, I get to stand up at my desk and do my school. And you know, it took a long time for that robot child of mine that was so used to this public school where they had this strict schedule and being told not to talk to each other and when they could go to the bathroom, and if they weren't feeling good, they had to, you know, basically stay there. It took almost a year, I would say a solid year. I've seen improvements very soon, within a few months of telling him this and teaching him how to be at home with us. But a full year is what it really took before he was comfortable being at home and being himself. He found himself again. He had to learn how we were at home, like our schedule. He had to learn that, you know, I had a little toddler then, and he had to learn that, you know, Sissy is going to do this, and we're not going to sit and watch cartoons like we do on Saturday when we're at home. And he had to learn that there was a time for schooling or time for learning, and then a time for playing. And it kind of took a while. And of course our dynamic is totally different now. But you know, just keep that in mind if you're pulling your child out of public school. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be hard, but it's not going to be super easy for them to transition. Even going from what we have been doing, what public schools have been doing here, a lot of them have been doing online and Zoom classes, and then say you're taking them from public school to online classes with their public school, and then to homeschooling them. Say you're not going to do online public school like you've been doing. You're going to do your own curriculum. It's going to take them time to learn, this is what we're using, this is what you're learning, this is how we're going to do it, this is going to be our schedule this year. So give them grace in that time, and give yourself grace. You're learning. The world is not going to end if they don't learn all their multiplication facts this year, or don't get an A+ in algebra. You're the teacher. You get to grade. You get to decide if they pass or fail. You know your child the best. So take this time, learn to nurture those relationships with your child. Don't stress too much about all the other stuff. It will come to you. If this is truly what you want to do and you feel like it's best for your family and your children, give yourself grace and give your family grace, because it's going to be a learning curve. And I will say one more thing before I end. If your child is not 7 years old, this is in North Carolina, if your child is 6 or younger, you don't have to register your homeschool. You don't have to do anything but start teaching them. That's all. You don't have to have a number from the state. Now, some attractions like the aquariums and zoos here do give you a discount or a free day to come. So you do have to have sometimes your little state thing that has your number on it. And it's free to do that. So if you want to go ahead and register your child, you can. But you don't have to test them before they're 7 years old. So my son, his birthday is in May. When he turned 7 that May, we didn't test again till he was almost 8. But you do have to test within that year that they are 7. So just keep that in mind, that you don't have to register unless you just want to prior to them being 7 years old. So if you only have 6 and under, don't worry about it, and you're good to go. But that is all for this video. I was going to try to keep it short, but it's going to be long. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you want to know more about our routine, or you want to see our routine as we get into our school year, let me know and I'll do more videos about this. It's very much part of our life, and we share a lot about our homestead, but not so much about homeschooling anymore. Go back and check out some of my other videos. You'll see how much we've changed. over the years. But I do have a lot of good information out there. And if you have any more questions, just let me know. I'm going to be doing a live on Instagram, I think, about homeschooling as well in a couple of days. So if you have some more questions, just follow me over there. It's Mountain Heritage Homestead is my username. I think it's mountain_heritage_homestead is on Instagram. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you like this video, and God bless.